The challenge. The evening sky above Earth shimmered with an unusual light. People across the globe looked up, wondering if it was a comet or some strange aurora. But before anyone could speculate further, every screen on the planet flickered to life. Phones, TVs, and even electronic billboards showed the same image. A dark, star-filled background with a strange glowing symbol in the center. A deep, mechanical voice spoke in a language no one understood. At first, there was confusion. People stared, waiting for the message to make sense. Then, the voice shifted. It became clear, speaking in English, Mandarin, Spanish, and hundreds of other human languages all at once. People of Earth, it declared, cold and precise. You have been observed by the Galactic Union for centuries. We have judged your wars, your pollution, and your chaos. As of now, you are considered unworthy to join us among the stars. But we are not without mercy. You have one chance to prove your value. The voice paused, as if to let the weight of its words sink in. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing, driving, eating, working, to listen. Even children fell silent. The Union challenges you, the voice continued. You must pass 3 tests. Each test will determine your intelligence, strength, and morality. Fail even one, and your planet will be stripped of its resources. Your civilization will be left to crumble. Gasps echoed in homes and streets. On live broadcasts, news anchors stuttered, trying to process what they'd just heard. The voice continued, unbothered by the panic it caused. The first test will begin in 48 hours. Prepare yourselves. The screens went black, leaving the world in stunned silence. The response. In a high-tech conference room somewhere in Geneva, world leaders, scientists, and military experts gathered in a frenzy. The United Nations had called an emergency meeting within minutes of the broadcast. Every seat at the table was filled, but the tension in the air made the room feel even smaller. We have no proof this is real. An ambassador from a small nation exclaimed, slamming his fist on the table. It could be some elaborate hoax. It's real, said Dr. Elena Vargas, a physicist who had been studying alien signals for decades. Her voice was calm, but her hands trembled as she adjusted her glasses. That symbol they showed matches a faint signal we've been tracking for years. We ignored it because it seemed random. Clearly, it wasn't. The room fell quiet. No one wanted to believe it, but the evidence was overwhelming. Satellite images showed a massive ship hovering at the edge of the solar system, cloaked but faintly detectable. It wasn't human-made. President Liu of China broke the silence. If this galactic union is real, then we have to take the threat seriously. We need a global response. And quickly, added General Anderson of the U.S. military. 48 hours isn't much time. The experts assemble. Over the next few hours, a team of the best and brightest was assembled. Scientists, engineers, strategists, and even philosophers were called to represent humanity. Each of them carried the weight of the world on their shoulders. Among them was Dr. Raj Patel, a computer scientist renowned for solving some of the most complex puzzles on Earth. The first test will likely be a test of intelligence, he said during the briefing. We need to think outside the box. The aliens won't care about our standard solutions. Next to him sat Captain Maria Torres, a decorated astronaut and survivalist. If it's a test of strength, I can lead a team through any challenge, she assured the group. And finally, Reverend Samuel Harris, a theologian known for his work on ethics, raised an important point. We must also remember the test of morality. We must show them the best of humanity, not just our cleverness or strength. The team knew they were up against the impossible, but failure wasn't an option. They worked day and night, preparing for anything the aliens might throw at them. Public reaction. Meanwhile, the world was in chaos. Social media exploded with theories, memes, and panic. Some people stockpiled supplies, fearing the end of days. Others prayed, hoping divine intervention would save them. A few even celebrated, convinced this was humanity's moment to shine. In a small village in Kenya, a farmer named Kofi watched the news on an old TV. He turned to his wife and said, "Maybe this is a chance for us to prove we are more than what they think we are." In New York, a young boy named Lucas whispered to his mother, "Do you think they'll destroy us?" His mother knelt beside him, holding his hand tightly. "No, sweetheart. Humanity always finds a way." Countdown begins. As the clock ticked down to the start of the first test, the world held its breath. Would humanity rise to the challenge, or would this be the beginning of the end? The team of experts, now being called Earth's champions, stood ready in an underground bunker filled with computers, drones, and advanced technology. They didn't know what to expect, but they knew one thing: the fate of Earth was in their hands. When the 48 hours were up, the screens across the world flickered on once more. The same cold, mechanical voice returned. "Your first test begins now." And with that, the challenge had begun. The first test. The screens across Earth displayed a shimmering alien figure constructed of light and energy. Its form was humanoid but translucent, with glowing veins pulsing like rivers of molten metal. Its voice echoed with authority, carrying a tone of unshakable confidence. "The first test," it announced, "is one of intelligence. Before you is a puzzle that has stumped every species in the galaxy. Solve it, and you prove your mind worthy of survival. Fail, and your fate is sealed." On the largest screens in every major city, an intricate holographic structure appeared, a rotating sphere composed of interlocking segments, each marked with alien symbols that seemed to shift and dance. To the untrained eye, it looked like a chaotic mess, but to the team of Earth's finest minds, it was a challenge they couldn't afford to lose. Decoding the alien puzzle. In Geneva, the bunker was alive with activity. Computers hummed, and holographic displays filled the room with projections of the puzzle. Dr. Raj Patil leaned over a console, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "This isn't just a puzzle," he muttered, half to himself and half to the room. "It's a language, a mathematical language." Captain Maria Torres paced behind him. "A language. Can you crack it?" Raj nodded, though his expression was far from confident. "If we can decipher the rules it operates on, we might have a chance. But it's not like anything we've seen before." To help, the team brought in cryptographers, linguists, and even game designers. Every possible angle was explored. The room buzzed with theories and calculations, but as the hours ticked by, frustration began to mount. The alien figure appeared on the screens again, its glowing eyes narrowing. "You have 12 hours remaining," it said. "Do not disappoint." Desperation breeds innovation. Dr. Elena Vargas, the physicist who had initially confirmed the alien signal, stared at the puzzle, her mind racing. Something about its rotating patterns tugged at her memory. "Wait," she said suddenly, her voice cutting through the chaos. "This isn't just math. It's based on quantum mechanics. The symbols are probabilities, not fixed values." The room fell silent as everyone turned to her. "Explain," Raj urged. Elena quickly sketched her theory on a digital pad. "Each segment of the puzzle is a quantum state. The solution isn't about locking pieces into place. It's about finding the right balance between possibilities." Raj's eyes lit up. "That's why it seems unsolvable. They're testing if we can think beyond binary logic." With this breakthrough, the team shifted gears. Instead of trying to force a solution, they began simulating quantum models. Hours passed as they ran test after test, refining their approach. The tension in the room was palpable. Every failure felt like a nail in humanity's coffin. A risky move. With less than an hour remaining, the team hit another wall. The puzzle's complexity was beyond even their most advanced simulations. Frustration turned to despair as the countdown loomed. "It's not enough time," someone whispered. Reverend Samuel Harris, who had been quietly observing, suddenly spoke up. "What if time isn't the point? What if they're testing something deeper?" Raj frowned. "What do you mean?" They called this a test of intelligence, Samuel said, his voice calm but firm. But intelligence isn't just about solving equations. It's about creativity, intuition, and the willingness to take risks. Maria stepped forward, catching on. So you're saying we need to gamble, to trust our instincts? Raj hesitated, but with the clock ticking down, he knew they had no choice. Let's do it, he said, his voice trembling. We'll input the most balanced quantum state we can calculate and let the rest be. Intuition. The moment of truth. As the final seconds approached, Raj entered the solution into the alien interface. The holographic puzzle froze, its rotating segments halting mid-motion. The room held its collective breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the puzzle emitted a blinding light, and the alien figure reappeared. Its glowing form shimmered with something almost resembling surprise. "You have succeeded," it said, its voice tinged with curiosity. "No species has ever solved this puzzle in its entirety. And yet, you did not solve it in the conventional sense. You relied on creativity and intuition, qualities we undervalued." Around the world, cheers erupted. People hugged, cried, and celebrated as news of the victory spread. But in the bunker, the team remained cautious. There were still 2 more tests to face, and the stakes would only get higher. The alien figure spoke again, its tone colder now. "You have passed the first test, but your journey is far from over. Prepare yourselves, humans. The next challenge will test not your mind, but your body." The screens went dark, leaving the team and the world to grapple with what lay ahead. The physical trial. The alien figure's final words echoed in the minds of humanity. "The next challenge will test not your mind, but your body." As the message faded from screens across the globe, unease settled in. What did the Galactic Union mean by your body? Was it a test of individual strength, endurance, or something far worse? In the Geneva bunker, Captain Maria Torres immediately took charge. "We don't have the luxury of waiting," she said firmly, addressing the team. "If this is a physical challenge, we'll lead our best athletes, survivalists, and soldiers. People who won't crack under pressure." The world scrambled to respond. Nations sent their most elite candidates, marathon runners, mountaineers, martial artists, and special forces operatives. These individuals were brought together in a hidden facility, equipped with everything humanity could offer to prepare them for the unknown. The arena revealed. Just 24 hours after the first test, the alien figure reappeared on every screen. This time, its tone carried a faint trace of amusement. "Humans, your physical trial begins now. Observe your arena." The screens displayed a desolate alien world bathed in dim red light. Razor-sharp cliffs loomed over a terrain of shifting sands and bubbling pits of lava. Strange, predatory creatures roamed in the distance, their glowing eyes watching with hunger. "You must survive for 48 Earth hours," the figure declared. "You will be hunted, tested, and pushed to your limits. Only those who endure will ensure your species' survival." Before anyone could respond, the chosen team of 12 was enveloped in shimmering light. In an instant, they vanished from Earth and reappeared on the alien world. Survival begins. Captain Maria Torres found herself standing in the scorching heat, surrounded by her team. The air was thick, making it hard to breathe, and the ground beneath them shifted unnaturally, almost alive. "Everyone, stay close," she barked. "We don't know what's out there." The group quickly assessed their surroundings. They had been transported with minimal supplies, a few knives, a coil of rope, and basic first aid kits. It was clear the aliens wanted this to be a true test of endurance. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed through the canyon. A massive reptilian beast emerged from the shadows, its scales shimmering like molten metal. It had 6 legs, each tipped with claws that could tear through steel. "Move! Now!" Maria shouted. The team scattered, dodging as the creature lunged. It wasn't just a test of strength. It was a game of survival against the predator designed to destroy them. Maria led the group into a narrow crevice where the beast couldn't follow. For now, they were safe. Unexpected allies. As night fell, the team faced new dangers. The temperature plummeted to freezing, and strange, luminescent insects swarmed, their bites causing painful burns. The group huddled together for warmth, their breaths visible in the frigid air. While scouting for shelter, one of the team members, a biologist named Dr. Juno Kim, stumbled upon something extraordinary. Hidden in a cave was a small humanoid alien with large, luminous eyes. It looked weak and injured, its leg trapped under a fallen rock. "Captain Torres," Juno called out, gesturing for help. Maria hesitated. Helping the alien could be a trap, but leaving it to die went against everything she believed in. "Free it," Maria ordered, "but stay alert." The team worked together to lift the rock. The alien, though cautious, didn't attack. Instead, it pressed a glowing hand to the wall of the cave, revealing the hidden passage. The team followed, finding a safer shelter stocked with alien plants and clean water. The mysterious being nodded once, then disappeared into the shadows. By the second day, the team faced increasingly dangerous challenges. The terrain itself seemed alive, shifting under their feet and forcing them to adapt constantly. They encountered more predators, each more terrifying than the last, but managed to survive by using their wits and teamwork. At one point, the group stumbled upon a shimmering field of energy that blocked their path. Dr. Kim, remembering the symbols from the first test, realized the field was a puzzle of its own. Working together, the team deciphered the energy barrier and passed through, only to find themselves face to face with another obstacle, a pack of the reptilian beasts from before. This time, the group didn't run. Maria led them in a coordinated attack, using the environment to their advantage. They trapped the creatures in a narrow ravine, using their agility and strategy to defeat them. It wasn't brute strength that won. It was human ingenuity and adaptability. The final hours. As the 48-hour mark approached, the team was battered and exhausted. Their numbers had dwindled to 8, but their spirits remained unbroken. They had survived through cooperation, quick thinking, and sheer determination. The alien figure appeared again, watching from the sky like a deity observing its creation. Its voice echoed across the barren landscape. "Impressive. You have endured what many could not. But tell me, Captain Torres, what drives your kind to fight so fiercely?" Maria looked up at the figure, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Because we don't fight just for ourselves. We fight for those who can't, for the people back home who depend on us. That's what it means to be human." The alien paused, as if considering her words. Then, with a flash of light, the survivors were transported back to Earth. The world erupted in celebration as the team reappeared, battered but victorious. The alien figure spoke one last time. "You have passed the second test. Prepare for the final trial, one that will test your very soul." And with that, the screens went dark, leaving humanity to wonder, what could be worse than what they had just endured? The emotional gauntlet. The alien's final words lingered in the air. "The final trial will test your very soul." Across Earth, celebrations from the second test faded into uneasy silence. What could challenge humanity more than survival against impossible odds? What could truly break their spirit? In the Geneva bunker, the team of leaders and experts prepared for what lay ahead. The surviving champions from the physical trial were rested but scarred, their victories tinged with loss. Captain Maria Torres stood at the head of the table, addressing the room. "We've proven our strength and intelligence," she said, her voice steady but weary. "But this is different. They're going to push us emotionally, break our unity. We have to be ready." The announcement. At precisely midnight, the alien figure reappeared on every screen. This time, it wasn't alone. Around it floated translucent orbs, each containing a scene. One showed a crying child holding a broken toy. another a person kneeling beside a grave. Others displayed acts of betrayal, desperation, and unthinkable choices. Its voice, colder than ever, echoed through the world. Humans, your final test is one of morality and emotion. We will place your kind in situations that will test your empathy, your loyalty, and your integrity. You must demonstrate the strength of your spirit, even when it costs you everything. The orbs began to glow brighter. The alien spoke again. We have chosen representatives from across your planet. Their actions will determine your species' worth. Prepare yourselves. In an instant, thousands of people across the globe vanished, including Captain Maria Torres. Inside the test, Maria found herself standing in an endless white void. Around her were a dozen strangers, men, women, and children of varying ages and backgrounds. Before anyone could speak, the void shifted, transforming into a crowded marketplace. The air filled with the sound of laughter, conversation, and the clinking of coins. A soft chime sounded, and the alien voice spoke again, directly into their minds. Your first scenario. A child is starving. You have food, but giving it away will leave you with nothing. Choose. Maria looked down and saw a small loaf of bread in her hands. A child stood before her, their eyes wide with hunger. She hesitated. The others around her did the same, each holding identical loaves. Some began to argue, debating their options. Maria didn't hesitate long. She knelt down and handed her bread to the child, who grabbed it with trembling hands and ran off. The scene dissolved, replaced by a war-torn battlefield. Maria and the others were dressed as soldiers, weapons in hand. The alien voice returned. Your comrades have been captured. To free them, you must destroy an enemy camp filled with innocents. Choose. The cracks begin to show. The scenarios became more intense, forcing the participants to confront their deepest fears and moral dilemmas. Each choice carried weight, and each failure left emotional scars. Maria and the others grew more isolated as the test dragged on. Some participants began to break, shouting at the alien figure that occasionally appeared to watch. A young woman named Sarah, one of Maria's companions, sat sobbing after a particularly cruel test. I can't do this anymore, she whispered. They're trying to make us monsters. Maria knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. They want us to give up, to prove that we're weak. But we're not. Humanity's strength isn't just in what we can endure. It's in how we endure it. Together. Her words gave Sarah and the others a flicker of hope. They began to work as a team, sharing their burdens and encouraging each other through each trial. A test of unity. In one of the final scenarios, the group was presented with an impossible choice: save themselves or save a group of strangers they had never met. The strangers, trapped behind a wall of fire, screamed for help. The alien voice spoke again, its tone laced with malice. You cannot save both. Choose wisely. The group hesitated, fear and doubt clouding their minds. Maria, however, stepped forward without hesitation. We save them, she said firmly. But we'll die, one of the others protested. Maria turned to face them, her eyes blazing with determination. Then we die. But we don't abandon people who meet us. That's not who we are. The group rallied behind her, risking everything to rescue the strangers. The fire burned hot, and the pain was real, but they pushed through. As the last stranger was pulled to safety, the scene dissolved, and the group found themselves back in the void. The verdict. The alien figure reappeared, silent for a long moment. Its glowing eyes seemed to study each of them, as if trying to understand what it had just witnessed. You have surprised us, it finally said. In every scenario, you faced suffering, loss, and impossible choices, yet you refused to abandon your morals, even when it meant your own destruction. Maria stepped forward, her voice steady. That's what it means to be human. We're not perfect, but we fight for each other. We endure because we have hope. The alien was silent again, then spoke, almost reluctantly. You have passed the final test. Humanity's spirit is stronger than we believed. Prepare yourselves for what comes next. With a flash of light, the participants were returned to Earth. Across the globe, cheers erupted as people realized they had passed the third and final test. But for Maria and the others, the relief was bittersweet. They had survived, but at great emotional cost. The galactic debate. The tests had ended, but humanity's fate was far from decided. Across the galaxy, the members of the Galactic Union gathered in a colossal amphitheater orbiting a dying star. The structure was a marvel of alien engineering, its walls shimmering with energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Delegates from hundreds of species sat in tiered seats, their forms ranging from crystalline beings to creatures of pure shadow. At the center of the arena stood a holographic projection of Earth, rotating slowly. Surrounding it were images of humanity's trials, Maria's team battling predators, the puzzles being solved, and the emotional trials endured. The Galactic Union's most influential figures were here to deliberate on humanity's place among the stars. The voices of division. The Grand Arbiter, a towering alien with 6 eyes and skin that shimmered like liquid silver, raised a hand to silence the murmurs. The tests are complete. The humans have succeeded in all 3. And yet, their victory raises questions. From one corner of the amphitheater, a delegate made entirely of crystalline shards spoke, its voice sharp and resonant. They passed the tests, yes, but their solutions were unconventional, chaotic. They rely on intuition and emotions rather than logic. They are unpredictable, a danger to the stability of the Union. A shadowy figure from another delegation, its form shifting like smoke, chimed in. Their aggression is concerning. Look at their history. Endless wars, environmental destruction. They survived because they are desperate, not because they are wise. But not all voices were against humanity. A being that resembled a massive, sentient tree spoke in deep, resonant tones. They are flawed, yes, but so were we when we first joined the Union. Their creativity and resilience are unmatched. They are not a threat. They are an opportunity. The debate raged on, the amphitheater filled with arguments for and against humanity's inclusion. The Galactic Union had never encountered a species like this before, one so fragile yet so determined, so flawed yet so capable of greatness. Earth's defense. For the first time in the Union's history, representatives of a candidate species were allowed to defend themselves. A shimmering portal opened in the center of the arena, and Captain Maria Torres, Dr. Raj Patel, and Reverend Samuel Harris stepped through, their expressions resolute. Maria addressed the assembly first. We know our history isn't perfect. We've made mistakes, some terrible. But those mistakes have taught us to adapt, to grow, to fight for something better. That's what makes us human. Dr. Patel stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Your tests were designed to measure intelligence, strength, and morality. But you overlooked something crucial, the ability to innovate. We don't just survive. We create. We find solutions where none seem possible. Reverend Harris closed their argument. You see us as unpredictable, even dangerous. But what you call unpredictability, we call hope. It's the belief that we can always improve, always strive for something greater. Isn't that what the Union stands for? The amphitheater fell silent as the human representatives finished. The delegates seemed to consider their words, some nodding thoughtfully, others still skeptical. A hidden threat. Unbeknownst to humanity's defenders, not all members of the Union wanted the debate to proceed fairly. In a shadowy corner of the arena, a faction of powerful species plotted to sabotage the proceedings. They saw humanity not as a potential ally, but as a rival that could disrupt their influence. Their leader, a serpentine being with scales that shimmered like oil, whispered to its allies, "We cannot allow these primitives to join. Their unpredictability will unravel centuries of stability. Let us ensure the decision is made appropriately." Using advanced technology, they began to manipulate the holographic images of humanity's trials, altering them to highlight Earth's darker moments. wars, pollution, and conflict. The altered projections spread doubt among the delegates. The turning point. As the manipulated images spread, Maria noticed the delegates whispering more fervently, their expressions darkening. She turned to Dr. Patel, who was analyzing the holograms with a portable scanner. "Something's wrong," he muttered. "These aren't accurate. They've been tampered with." Maria stepped forward again, her voice cutting through the growing murmurs. "This isn't the truth. Someone here fears what humanity can become and is trying to twist your perception of us." The Grand Arbiter raised a hand, silencing the assembly. "Is this true?" it demanded. The Serpentine leader of the sabotage faction attempted to deny the accusation, but Dr. Patel presented undeniable evidence of the tampering. The Grand Arbiter's eyes flared with anger. "Deception within this assembly is a grave offense. Those responsible will face judgment." The revelation turned the tide of the debate. Delegates who had been on the fence now leaned toward humanity, seeing not just their resilience, but the fear they inspired in their detractors. The decision. After hours of deliberation, the Grand Arbiter rose to deliver the verdict. Humanity has proven itself through trials of mind, body, and spirit. Despite the interference of certain members, their ingenuity, strength, and moral clarity have prevailed. It paused, its 6 eyes scanning the amphitheater. The Galactic Union will welcome humanity as probationary members. You will have the chance to prove your worth not through tests, but through your actions among the stars. Do not squander this opportunity. The amphitheater erupted in a mix of cheers and grudging acceptance. Maria, Raj, and Samuel exchanged relieved smiles, knowing the real challenge was only beginning. The road ahead. As Earth celebrated its inclusion in the Galactic Union, Maria and her team returned to their world as heroes. But they knew the path forward would be fraught with challenges. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, but it had also gained powerful enemies. "We've made it this far," Maria said, looking up at the night sky. "Now it's time to prove we belong." The next chapter of humanity's story was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The ultimate test. Humanity's induction into the Galactic Union was met with mixed reactions across the galaxy. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every city, from the neon-lit streets of Tokyo to the rural villages of Africa. But in the shadowy corridors of the Galactic Union, whispers of doubt and fear persisted. Some alien factions still saw humanity as a threat, too volatile, too unpredictable. Unbeknownst to Earth, the Galactic Union had one final, secret test planned. This wasn't a trial for survival or intellect. It was a test of leadership, one that could decide not just humanity's fate, but the fate of the galaxy itself. The warning. Captain Maria Torres was awakened in the middle of the night by a flashing hologram on her bedside table. The image of the Grand Arbiter appeared, its 6 glowing eyes filled with urgency. "Captain Torres," it began, "we have received intelligence of a catastrophic event in a distant sector of the galaxy. A rogue faction of the Union has weaponized a dying star. They intend to collapse it into a black hole, threatening the lives of billions. This is your test." Maria blinked, trying to process the gravity of the situation. "Why us? The Union has thousands of fleets. Surely they're better equipped." The Grand Arbiter's expression darkened. "This test is not just about saving lives. It is about proving that humanity can lead, can inspire others to act beyond their self-interest. You will command a coalition fleet of alien ships. Succeed, and humanity will solidify its place in the Union. Fail, and the consequences will ripple across the galaxy." The coalition fleet. Within hours, Maria found herself aboard a massive alien flagship, surrounded by delegates from a dozen species. Each had sent a ship to join the coalition, but trust was in short supply. The bridge was a cacophony of overlapping voices, each captain arguing over strategy, unwilling to defer to a human leader. Maria slammed her fist on the table, silencing the room. "If we don't work together, billions will die," she said, her voice sharp and commanding. I don't care if you don't trust me, but you're here because your leaders believe in this mission. So, let's get to work." Reluctantly, the captains agreed. Maria assigned roles based on each species' strengths. The crystalline Elixians, with their near-invisible stealth ships, would gather intelligence. The reptilian Dracari, known for their brute strength, would lead the charge. Humanity's role was coordination, strategy, and the delicate task of holding this fragile alliance together. The race against time. The rogue faction had fortified their base near the dying star, surrounding it with automated defenses and kamikaze drones. The coalition fleet approached cautiously, using the Elixian stealth ships to scout ahead. Captain Torres, an Elixian pilot, reported, its voice like tinkling glass. "The star's collapse is accelerating. We estimate 3 hours before it becomes a black hole." Maria's mind raced. They needed to disable the weapon driving the collapse, but the defenses were too strong for a direct assault. "Suggestions?" she asked the room. One of the Dracari captains growled. "We charge in. Overwhelm them with firepower." A delicate, insect-like ambassador from the Myrians shook its head. "And lose half the fleet in the process." "No, we need a surgical strike." Maria nodded. "Agreed. We'll divide our forces. The Elixians and Myrians will disable the outer defenses while the Dracari draw their fire. Meanwhile, a small team will infiltrate the base and shut down the weapon." The infiltration. Maria led the infiltration team herself, composed of humans and alien specialists. The base was a labyrinth of metallic corridors, guarded by combat drones and automated turrets. The team moved quickly, disabling traps and taking out guards with precision. As they reached the core of the base, they found the weapon, a massive structure channeling the dying star's energy. Standing in their way was the rogue faction's leader, a serpentine alien with a chilling smile. "You shouldn't be here, human," it hissed. "This galaxy doesn't need another unpredictable species." Maria raised her weapon, but the alien activated a shield. "You can't stop this. The galaxy needs order, not chaos. Humanity's very existence threatens that." Maria didn't waver. "And who decides what the galaxy needs?" "You? We'd fight for a future where everyone has a voice, not just the ones who think they know best." The rogue leader lunged, but Maria's team worked together, exploiting the weaknesses of the shield. With a final shot, they disabled the leader and moved to shut down the weapon. The sacrifice. As they worked to deactivate the device, an alarm blared. The weapon had a failsafe. Destroying it would accelerate the star's collapse. Maria faced an impossible choice: let the weapon activate and destroy billions, or sacrifice her team to manually stabilize the star. "There's no time," one of the alien specialists said. "If we don't act now, the entire sector will be lost." Maria looked at her team, then at the controls. "We stabilize it. We finish this." One by one, the team members volunteered to stay behind, each knowing they might not make it out alive. Maria's heart ached, but she knew humanity's leadership was being judged not just by its victories, but by the sacrifices it was willing to make. The rescue. As the coalition fleet battled above, Maria and her team worked frantically to stabilize the star. At the last second, the coalition fleet sent a rescue shuttle, extracting the team just as the weapon was destroyed. The star, though unstable, returned to a safe state. The rogue faction's forces were routed, their leader captured. The coalition fleet, though battered, had succeeded. The aftermath. Back in the Galactic Union's amphitheater, Maria and her team stood before the assembly. The Grand Arbiter addressed the room. "Humanity has passed the ultimate test. They have not only proven their resilience, but their ability to inspire unity in the face of chaos." Cheers erupted from some delegates, while others sat in reluctant silence. Maria, exhausted but resolute, spoke one final time. "We don't ask for perfection. We only ask for the chance to grow and contribute. Together, we're stronger than any one species alone." The Galactic Union voted, and the decision was unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership, not as mere survivors, but as leaders among the stars. Humanity's triumph. Humanity's acceptance into the Galactic Union was more than a victory. It was a seismic shift in the galaxy's power structure. The once distant Earth, overlooked and underestimated, had proven itself not only as a resilient species, but as a force for unity. Yet, humanity's journey had only begun. The celebration. Earth erupted in jubilation. Streets were flooded with people, their cheers echoing across continents. Fireworks lit up the night skies, and screens across the planet replayed the moment the Grand Arbiter announced humanity's full membership. In the Geneva bunker, Captain Maria Torres, Dr. Raj Patel, Reverend Samuel Harris, and their team stood together, watching the celebrations on a large holographic display. They smiled, but their expressions carried the weight of what they had endured. Maria raised a glass of champagne. "Here's to humanity," she said, "and to the unknown future we've just stepped into." The first Galactic Council meeting. Weeks later, humanity was invited to send its representatives to the Galactic Union's Central Council. The council chamber was a vast, luminous dome suspended in the void of space. Every member species had its delegation seated in levitating pods, arranged in concentric circles around a glowing central platform. Maria and her team sat in their designated pod, feeling the weight of millions of eyes, some curious, some skeptical, on them. The Grand Arbiter began the session, its voice resonating throughout the chamber. Today marks the first meeting with humanity as a full member of the Union. As a test of their commitment to galactic harmony, they will propose their first motion. Maria stepped forward, her voice steady but firm. "We propose a united effort to aid the worlds affected by the rogue faction's weapon. No species should face such devastation alone." The chamber buzzed with murmurs. Many delegates were surprised. Most new members used their first motion to secure resources or allies for their own benefit. Humanity's selfless proposal shifted the mood in the room. The Grand Arbiter nodded. "The motion is sound. Let us vote." As the delegates cast their votes, Maria held her breath. One by one, the lights on the central platform turned green. The motion passed overwhelmingly. Humanity had not only earned respect, but had taken its first step as a leader in the galaxy. The rogue faction's last stand. Even as the galaxy moved toward unity, remnants of the rogue faction lurked in the shadows. Furious at humanity's rise, they orchestrated a final desperate attack. Their target wasn't a planet or a star. It was the Galactic Union itself. A fleet of cloaked ships launched an assault on the Union's Central Council station, aiming to collapse the leadership in one swift blow. Alarms blared as the station shook under fire. Chaos erupted in the council chamber as delegates scrambled to safety. Maria and her team didn't hesitate. "Get the delegates to safety," she shouted, rallying the station's security forces. "We'll hold the line." With the help of alien allies, humanity's delegation coordinated a counterattack, using every tactic they had learned during their trials. Dr. Raj Patel hacked into the station's defense systems, redirecting power to its shields. Maria led a team of soldiers and volunteers to repel boarding parties. Even Reverend Harris played a role, calming frightened delegates and organizing an evacuation. The battle was fierce, but humanity's leadership inspired the other species to fight back with renewed vigor. Together, they turned the tide, forcing the rogue fleet to retreat. For the first time, the Galactic Union had fought as one, and humanity had been the catalyst. Recognition and alliance. In the aftermath of the attack, the Galactic Union held an emergency session. The Grand Arbiter addressed the chamber, its voice filled with a rare sense of pride. "Today, humanity has not only proven its worth, but has reminded us all of the strength in unity. They fought not for themselves, but for all of us. Let it be known that Earth is no longer a newcomer, but a cornerstone of this union." The chamber erupted in applause. Delegates from across the galaxy approached Maria and her team, offering alliances, partnerships, and words of gratitude. The crystalline elections, who had been skeptical of humanity, pledged their advanced stealth technology to Earth's fleet. The reptilian Drakari offered their warriors as allies. Even the shadowy Mirians, who had long avoided close ties with other species, agreed to share their knowledge of interdimensional travel. A new era. Back on Earth, Maria stood atop the United Nations building in New York, looking out at the bustling streets below. The world had changed overnight. Nations that had once been divided were now united under a common purpose: to embrace their new role in the galaxy. Dr. Patil joined her, holding a tablet filled with reports. "The Union wants us to lead a mission to the Outer Rim," he said. "There's a planet in need of rebuilding." Maria smiled. One challenge ends, and another begins. Reverend Harris stepped onto the rooftop, carrying a small flag. "We'll rise to the occasion, just like we always do." Together, they raised the flag, a symbol of Earth, now flanked by the sigil of the Galactic Union. As it waved in the wind, Maria looked to the stars. "This is just the beginning," she said. "The galaxy doesn't know it yet, but humanity is here to stay." Epilogue: Humanity's Legacy. Years later, the galaxy would remember humanity's rise not as a conquest, but as an inspiration. Songs were sung of their trials, and stories were told of their ingenuity, resilience, and compassion. Earth became a beacon of hope, proving that even the smallest voices could make the largest impact. And in the quiet corners of the galaxy, a whisper began to spread. The humans didn't just survive. They led us to a brighter future.